Hello everyone, Jesse Webb, TradersPro. Market conditions bouncing off of these lows. We talked yesterday about this range. Saw a little bit of a pop here yesterday. It didn't adjust the overall trend though. Still bearish in a bull market. So still working on that upper end of that range and seeing momentum pull all the way back, but now seeing it off of those extreme levels. It was over here as of a couple days ago. So that's a pretty common area when we're starting to see some extremes in momentum, and utilizing this chart to let us know that we're at those extremes. So we could be starting to see the setup for a potential bounce right here. We'll pull in the support resistance areas here in just a minute, but it is still has some bearish undertones to it. Breadth is weakening, 33.9. Essentially, that only 33% of stocks in the database are in uptrends and advancing this trend. So it's starting to weaken in terms of the overall breadth of the market. You can see that starting to slide back down here again. It's in the lower range. But that also can be kind of a reversal type indicator when we get a little bit too extreme to one side. Sentiment is a lot slower moving indicator. That's still in the higher complacency range. We haven't seen just fear capitulation type selling, which will increase that fear level, and that hasn't happened quite yet. So buy-sell ratio is also looking extreme. We mentioned that yesterday, this upper range. More than likely, it's not done though. That I have very seldom see it get to this extreme and not have a pullback and then one more move, maybe two. It can certainly chop around, but we're starting to see the volatility increase again. This range was really abnormal to have it that tight. This range is typically how it starts to look. So we had a really quiet spring and fall and summer as the market kind of just slowly chopped its way higher, and now we're starting to see a little bit more activity happening here. So we're again at the upper end of that range, sentiment at the bottom end of that range, and SPY. If we take a look on SPY, we're seeing it. Momentum's moving lower. We've crossed down below that momentum range. We want to see a stock or a market continuing to hold this level and then retrace and bounce and then continue that overall trend above this location. As we've connected to this swing high point and swing low point, it's looking for it's looking for these reversal locations along the way, and it's broken through that now. Next stop more than likely is going to be this 429 range. After we retest inside of this area here, really that could move all the way up into that zone. If we rally and then retest and then hold this support level, that's going to move this momentum range back up into that hold and range and buy zone. When When that happens, that's when we will start to adjust our bias. Now notice this is a green bar right here inside of this extreme, even though we're down. Part of that is because when we get into this extreme zone, it typically doesn't stay there. It'll usually bounce and head back higher. So in this case, it's green because the bounce would be bullish. The bounce would be for more upside. When you get to the extreme up on this other side, this arrow will turn red, letting you know that it's probably extreme to the upside and wanting to move back down. We will see though, when it's trending lower consistently, it'll be inside of this range, this sell zone to the extreme, and then it'll move back up into the sell zone, and then it'll move back into the extreme as it's doing this, as it's moving up and then back down. Just like on the upside, when we have an uptrend, it's in this upper range. It'll be moving higher and then back into the buy zone. This becomes the more sustainable location for new buys, and we'll look at a couple stocks here so that I can show you an example of that. Muscle ETFs, we look through that group. Some interesting new buys. The uranium ETFs are having moves and having potential breakouts. Here's an example of that where it's moving higher. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to reverse. It just means that it's in the upper end of that momentum range. And if you're looking for new buys, then either waiting for that to come back, but in this case, that's a lot of times you get a breakout and you get that momentum moving higher. It's not necessarily a sell signal in this case. And in fact, it's never a sell signal. You can utilize it for where are you at in the trend? Are we towards the upper end of this momentum range, or are we back down in a range where we can build up a little momentum? These breakouts on big moves, if you follow these videos often, you've seen some of those really continue and have a lot more upside. We're seeing that a couple of different brands as far as nuclear, uranium, similar type of chart pattern here on NLR. The muscle stocks group, we're seeing some new buys that are in the upper range, these upper rank 99-100 CABA, which has been a high flyer. Really the last year, it had this really strong uptrend and then retraced and then has been stuck in this range. It really looks like it wants to continue higher. All of this support, that's a lot of support right here and a lot of resistance inside of the zone. So whichever way wins is going to continue to move more than likely significantly. So I'd keep an eye on that one for a breakout if it can continue to move higher within this overall trend. It's in that upper trend zone, at least on the 1-year chart, and then also on the 6-month time frame. It's hovering around those two zones as well. And let's look at the next couple in the list. Actually, I'm just going to refresh this page so we can pull in that group. CABA, VRT, also nice looking trend. Nice looking fundamentals here as well. This overall green bullish profile and green across the board when it comes to fundamentals. That's what we want to see. We want to see the stock in this upper range holding support and then giving us a new confirmation buy zone and a nice looking stock there. Really a great example of what the kind of stocks that we are looking for, and that is fundamentally sound, strong stocks that are moving higher and have nice momentum chart patterns as well. VRT, nice looking chart. SVRA, another nice one, only $3. Medical Biotech, those are always volatile. And remember just to be aware of that volatility, especially on a $3 or $4 stock where you may have 15-20% volatility as a pretty normal range. SVRA, interesting pattern there. PCVX needs to bounce a little bit more into that upper range and hasn't quite got there yet. ORIC, also a nice looking pattern. So some good looking patterns in there today. Medical and biotech really are the top 3 ranges. We also saw some nuclear on the ETFs to be paying attention to. That'll do it for today's update. Everyone have a fantastic day today.